Hi everyone, my name is Paul Preobrazhensky. Today I'm going to look at another important aspect of health service management, and that is the health service financial management. I want to give you a bit of a picture of how to take some pretty common data sets around one particular cost centre to be able to manipulate and summarise that data in an Excel pivot table and pivot chart so that you can have a look at the variation across different accounts, different account groupings, and be able to form an opinion on where the questions are that you need to ask as a health service manager so that you can find points of leverage or control within your organisation. So for the students of University in Western Sydney, let's start by getting our example cost centre dataset from the Views site. So to do this, of course, as you're aware, you go to University of Western Sydney's site, go to Views. Of course, you'll need to provide your login, Health Service Financial Management, course content, scroll down to Excel Tutorial 2. Click on that, download the Excel table, which will look like this. So first, just a quick look at this data set. Starting with the numbers and working upwards, you'll see that there are columns entitled monthly actual, which is the actual amount spent, monthly budget, which is the budget amount or goal that was to be not spent above, and the year-to-date actual spend and the year-to-date budget. And for the full year, what was the full year budget? To use this data, it is in a table format which has a month and a year row for every account code. Each account code has both a number and a description to help you get down to the lower level detail of where the expenditure or actual expense is occurring and whether it is matching budget. These are grouped, which will help you summarise your data, and we'll be using these two today. You can see they're called here Board Report Roll-Up 1 and Roll-Up 2. To make a pivot table, click on the first square, column A, row 1, go to Insert, Pivot Table. Your data range will be selected automatically and you'll see a new worksheet selected for you. Click OK. There you go. You've created your pivot table. Right now, what is it that we want to look at? We want to look at the summary levels. So let's take Board Roll-Up 2, put it into rows. There you go. You can see them appear in rows on the left-hand side. Take Board Roll-Up 1, put it in underneath, and you'll see the next level of rows appear. Now, we will look at a month within a year, so those will be the filters that we'll apply. You will always be looking as a health service manager at what happens to your expenses and budget every month, so this is the way you will filter it. Drop year into filters, drop month into filters. You'll see that both appeared above the table over here on the left. Let's just take month using the drop down arrow, select the first month of the financial year, July. Okay, now to populate the table. First thing we want to look at is the month actual expenditure. So month actual, drag that down into values. And over here you'll see our first column, sum of month actual. Sometimes this may not say sum, it may say count or something else. If you need to fix that, just click on this square, right click, value field settings, and make sure it says sum here, not count. Next one we want is month budget. Click on month budget, drag it under values, and there you see it appears. Then we'll take year-to-date actual, drag it under month budget. Then we will take year-to-date budget, drag it under month year-to-date actual. Then we'll take full year budget. And there you can see it's starting to look like a pretty standard summary financial report. It's always useful to have some good formatting that is a little bit more pleasing to the eye and draws your attention to things that need to be noted and eliminates some of those small cents when you're dealing with these values over $1,000. So let's highlight all of the values right click them, go to Format Cells. I like to use Custom, come down to about the 6th one where there is a red brackets, click OK. Now you will see that we have lost all of the cents, we only have dollar values, and where there is negatives or revenue, we have a red figure as well. So that's our pivot table. Let's just see how we are positioned for our total employer-related expenses in the first month of the year. We need to have a look at what financial year. Let's look at 9/10. And in 9/10 we had $241,000 of spend for employer-related expenses, and $314,000 was our budget. So we came in under budget. You'll see these are the same for year-to-date actual and the year-to-date budget. This is because this is the first month of the year. And you'll see over here in our 5th column, we have a budget of about $3,799,000. If I have a look to the bottom line, we have a different position down here where we have a spend of $332,000 over a budget of $326,000. So we have spent over our budget in our first month. There lies my first health service management question. So if I look to see where our first point of variation is, I can look up here and go, other admin. What's going on here? We've spent $15,000, but we had a budget of $1,000. Now that's one way to look at how you can analyse this basic summary. Another way is to insert another column. So let's do some variance analysis on September in a different way. I'll just copy my values, create a new spreadsheet, paste them in, spread them out so that we can see them. To do this, I just want to insert some columns, one behind sum of month budget, one behind year-to-date budget, and do a simple equation. I'll do equals budget C2 minus actual, which is a B2. Press equals. Now you'll see I am spending $101,000 under my budget because I am favourable. Drag the square, drag that down, and if you have a look down that column, you'll see I have spent more on my long service leave provision, $873 than I had for budget, and I spent more on my printing and stationery than I had for budget, and I spent money on an intra-area health service expense, which I had no budget for. So there you can see I can ask some questions about what happened that month. And I'll just have a look at the year-to-date. Same equation, equals budget, which is F2, minus actual, which is E2. Receive, enter. I am $252,000 under on my employee-related expenses. So I'll drag that down and have a look down that column. For the full year, I've spent $101 more on printing and stationery than I had budget for. I have spent $12,000 more than I have budget for admin other expenses. I spent $71,000 more than I have for repairs and maintenance. That is made up of $58,000 from renovation and additional works and $12,000 for repairs. Overall, however, I am still $192,000 favourable. So you can see that it starts to give me some management questions. Did I have delegated approval to do those renovation works? Did I have the funds available to do those renovation works? I did. Did I have the authorisation to spend them from another line of budget? Now, did I have money in my employer-related expenses? Yes, I had $250,000. However, this is capital works. Did I have that delegated approval to make that payment? So here you can see those questions that you would have in your monthly budget meetings coming out. So let's have a look at one of those areas where there is something that is a little bit unknown, and that is this other admin. So to do this, I'm going to do a line chart for you. I'm going to make that out of a pivot chart from the same data source. So let's go back to the data source. Okay, so let's insert pivot chart. Data range is selected, new worksheet. Pivot chart. We'll look at roll up 2 in filters, roll-up 1 in filters, as well as an extra level of description. We will take the month actual, put in values, and we will take the year and the month as our values to analyze. Make this a little bit bigger. I encourage you to do right click, change chart type to line with markers. You can see that something in this cost center has changed from a significant point of expense to a dropping level expense. Please excuse that not every month is in the right order. With this data set doesn't contain a month number, but we can see the trend. If I have a look at the field in roll-up 2, look at other admin. Yes, it does look like we have had a significant change here, which is in the month of October. What was that from? I suspect it's got something to do with our salary and wages. And yes, I'm right, there is another credit back here in our expenses. One more field, and this will tell you what it is, I'm sure. Redundancies. So what has happened is in January and February, obviously in this cost center there were several redundancies made, and in the subsequent months that money was reimbursed or put back against that cost center. Okay, so that's just one thing that may have happened. Let's assume that we now have a bit of an understanding of what happened in 9 and 10, and let's go and have a look at taking that out and have a look at 11 and 12. So 11 and 12, let's have a look at our admin expenses in 11 and 12. Is the same happening, just to be certain? Search here. Interesting. Other admin expenses. There it looks as though there is a few different points here where we've had other admin expenses of 3,000, 2,500, 6,000, and then we've had none subsequently for the remaining part of the year. The task for you now is I would like you to go and say, what are the things that I have noticed in my budget summary that I really need to have a look into to find out whether this is a common occurrence or whether this is a special occurrence. I'd like you to go back to September 2009-10, have a look at that spreadsheet. Now, I showed you earlier how to analyze variance by adding in an extra column inside of a copied summary report, but I'm just going to do it over here for ease. Right, so for our month variance, what is it that we really need to have a look at here? Firstly, overtime. We have a high overtime in the month of September, and a year to date we have a high overtime. Total goods and service. Looks like we're over budget for goods and services. I wonder where that's coming from. Let's have a look down here. Information management, other admin. So we need to ask the question, what is going on in those areas? Two things that we can do. First, let's go back to our pivot table, add in another filter, count description, into rows. Now this significantly increases the level of detail that we can look into. Let's have a look at our overtime. Overtime. So it looks like in this cost center we have an overtime which is spread across all employees. Overtime. Have a look at this. It says something happens in March, something happens in September where overtime is significantly higher. For the rest of the time, my average overtime is somewhere around $4,000. Is it that we aren't recruiting? There's lots of questions that need to be asked. One other question. Let's go back to our data set. Something I'd like you to take away. Let's have a look at another month. Look at June 2010. Repairs and maintenance. We have a maintenance contract expense. It happened in the month of June. Is this a trend for us to move into the future with? Do we have a contract with that budget? What are the questions that I need to ask my health service managers? Will I be able to afford this over the period of this 12 months? Okay, I hope this was a helpful insight into how to analyse a cost centre financial data set. Please take those questions away and talk to you again soon.